Once upon a time there was an ancient castle deep in the middle of a vast, dense forest. Living in the castle is an evil witch. During the day, she turns into a gentle cat, sometimes she turns into an owl. But every night she appeared like an old woman. She made the wind blow and called the birds to fly in the direction she stood. Then she caught the bird, slaughtered it, and fried it to eat. Whoever comes close to her castle, when he is still 100 steps away, suddenly feels like he is frozen in place, immobile like a statue. If it turns out to be a virgin girl, the witch turns that person into a bird, puts the bird in a cage and hangs it in a room of the castle. She has a total of 7,000 bird cages with all kinds of rare birds. The most beautiful girl in the village is Ms. Jorinde. She is betrothed to Mr. Joringel. During the engagement days, they became more and more attached to each other. One time they invited each other to go out to the forest, and they whispered their feelings as they walked. It was already sunset and they didn't and #39 know it. At this time, people could only see weak rays of sunlight shining through the dense, dark forest. The sound of cuckoos calling each other back to their nests makes me feel more restless and sad. Joringel said to his lover, "Remember, dawn and number 39. Go near the castle." Sometimes Jorinde cried, she sat sobbing, lamenting the late afternoon sunlight. Same with Joringel. They lamented their fate as if they were about to say goodbye to each other. Darkness had fallen, only half of the sun could be seen disappearing behind the mountains in the distance. They got lost in the deep forest without realizing it, and now they dawn and number 39. Know how to find their way out of the forest. Joringel raised his head and looked through the bushes and saw that he was standing near the ancient rampart. He was so shocked that he wanted to faint. Jorinde sings. The bird wearing the red ring sings sadly, "Unfortunately, not you. The dove has gone down to the golden stream, bringing with her longing for her mate, bird." Joringel looked around and saw that Jorinde had now transformed into a nightingale, singing, and quat, "Hello mate," and quat. Then an owl flew in. Its eyes were like sparks of fire. It circled 3 times around the nightingale, then cried, and quat, "Shoo! Who? Who? Who?" And quat. Joringel could not move his limbs. He stood there like a stone statue, neither crying nor saying a word. He stood dumbfounded. Now that the sun had completely disappeared behind the mountain, the owl flew down to a nearby bush. From the bushes, a hunched old woman stepped out. She was thin and scrawny. Her skin was yellow, and she had huge red eyes. Has a nose that has turned back and is so long that it looks terrifying. She muttered something, then walked up to the nightingale, grabbed the bird and carried it away. Joringel could N and #39 lift his legs, and could N and #39 say a word. A moment later, the old woman returned and said with a hoarse voice, "At a good time, I will put the bird in a cage, and at the same time you will also be freed." Joringel ran to her, knelt before her, begged her to return Jorinde. She said that would never happen. Then she turned around and left. The boy stood there screaming, crying, lamenting his fate, but all of that didn't and #39 help. While crying, he said, "Ah, you, what can I do now? Oh my God." He kept his head down and kept walking, walking and walking, until finally he came to a strange countryside. where he stayed to herd sheep. He often herded sheep in the forest around the old castle, but never dared to go near it. One night, while sleeping, he dreamed of a bright red flower. In the middle of the flower was a large, beautiful pearl. He plucked that flower and carried it with him into the old castle. Wherever the flower touched, the spells would lose their effectiveness. He dreamed of seeing Jorinde again. Early the next day, as soon as he woke up, he set out to find flowers. Going day after day, on the morning of the 9th day, he found a bright red flower with a large dewdrop in the pistil that looked like a beautiful pearl. Day and night, he always carried flowers with him. He went to the ancient castle in the forest. He did not stop outside but just walked straight to the castle gate. He brought flowers to touch the city gate. He was extremely happy to see it slowly open. He walked in, then walked through the yard. He heard what seemed like a bird singing somewhere. The deeper he went, the clearer he heard the bird sound. At last he came to a large room. The witch was standing there feeding the birds. The room contained 7,000 bird cages. As soon as she caught a glimpse of Joringel, she became angry. She cursed loudly. She jumped up and down towards him, but she could not get close to him. He also didn't and #39. Bother to pay any attention to her. He went to look at the bird cages, but there were hundreds of nightingales. So how could he recognize Jorinde now? Suddenly he saw the witch carrying away a bird cage and was about to go towards the door. Quick as lightning, he jumped towards it, touching the flower to the bird cage and the witch. She could do nothing more, and Jorinde showed her true form. She hugged and kissed him like in the old days. Then he touched the flowers to other bird cages, and the birds turned into beautiful young women. He took Jorinde and number 39's hand and the two happily went home. From then on, the two lived together very happily until their hair turned gray. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.